Hey, what's up you guys? This is Sentai22 here. How you guys all doing? Bringing you another console review for you. And today I'll be checking out the SNK's Neo Geo AES, or the Advanced Entertainment System. Now for those of you who are wondering, what is Neo Geo? Now, Neo Geo was actually a console that SNK developed in the early 90s. SNK, which was a very well-known company that developed a lot of really awesome titles, particularly the 2D fighting games like King of Fighters, as well as Fatal Fury as well, the NES classic Akari Warrior. SNK wanted to make their own console. Unlike Sega and Nintendo, their premise was essentially bringing the arcade experience to the home. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let's just say you were a kid growing up in the late 80s to early 90s. You played the arcade version of Altered Beast. Really fun game, the arcade version. Then you heard that Sega was actually going to release a console version for Altered Beast, and you're like giddy with excitement. You played the console version, and you realize, wait a minute, these two are different. Different games. I mean, it's just a watered down version of the arcade version of Altered Beast. Well, that's because the Sega Genesis did not have a lot of power to emulate the arcade version. So they had to do some alterations to the game in order to make it look better, but unfortunately it's still a watered down version of Altered Beast. With SNK, the games were nearly, I wouldn't say nearly, but they were pretty much arcade perfect. That's because it uses the same processors and chips and cartridges as in the arcade version. Unfortunately, because of this, because you were essentially playing an arcade machine, just slightly sexier and much sleeker, you would have to pay a premium price. This thing in 1991 costed around $600. Now, which is probably around $1,000 in today's market, so it was pretty expensive. And of course, it was very revolutionary for its time, because even though this was a 16-bit system, it actually produced a lot more, right roughly around 24 bits, thanks to in part with the Z80 chip that was inside it. Also, this was also the first system to actually have memory cards. So if you're thinking of PlayStation being the first, you're dead wrong. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there were probably other consoles before this that had memory cards. Please guys, I would love to know if there was any consoles that had memory cards before Neo Geo or the PlayStation. I would love to know. Please put it in the comments if you do so. Now, for those of you who are wondering, yes, this is the American version. I do know that the Japanese versions are more common, but the American version is a little bit harder to find. Thankfully, I was able to get this system for a very good price. I'm not going to say how much, but with 3 games and 2 different controllers, it was a perfect deal. So, let's check out the accessories, of course. Because this is an arcade system, you also get the arcade style controller, which is this. As you can see, very arcade-ish. Even from the clicking of the joystick, feels like you're playing in the arcade machines in the 90s. There's also the hand controller as well, which you can use for the Neo Geo CD or the regular Neo Geo AES. So, as you can see, has your start and select. As well as you can see right in the side of the Neo Geo, you also have headphone jacks if you want to, hear the awesome sound of these games. Really cool. Of course, your on and off, really nice, and your reset button. So I mean, this is a very sleek looking system, I have to say. Very, very nice. Now let's take a look at the cartridges. Oh my gosh, the cartridges are freaking huge. I mean, literally, they're very, very huge. I mean, as a matter of fact, you can actually put two Sega Genesis cartridges right in there. And still have room, I guess, for, if you just put them around like that, you have room for putting, I guess, two Game Boy cartridges in there. So yeah, very, very big cartridge, but for good reason, of course, because it uses the game boards as in the arcade. So now, because the system was so expensive, the cartridges were as well. Some of the games, for example the Metal Slug series, can fetch up to essentially $900 to sometimes $800, as well as some of the other fighters as well. But thankfully there are some out there that doesn't cost so much, particularly this one game called Magician Lord, which I'll probably get next week. So the common ones are less expensive, roughly around $90 to sometimes $60, but the more rare ones, like Metal Slug, they usually cost a lot more. However, you could still get the MVS version, which is the cartridges from the arcade cabinets, and using a converter, those are a lot cheaper. Alright, now I'm about to set up the system, so once again, here we go. Okay, now I hooked up the Geo AES to my old school television. Always remember to play your old school games on an old school TV. And now I'm about to put the cartridge in the AES, which is a lot easier to insert. It's not like the Sega Genesis or the Super Nintendo where it's just, you know, a painstaking task to remove. So just push it in there gently, not so much, and there you go. And now let's get on with the show. Turn on the system. There's the Neo Geo intro. Okay, right now I'm playing an awesome Neo Geo AES or Arcade Classic Samurai Showdown. Really, really great 2D fighting game for the system. Now, for those of you who are wondering, yes, it is region free with some exceptions, of course. As you probably noticed, why was there English text on a Japanese cartridge? Well, that's because the American version of the Neo Geo actually has the English BIOS actually translates the cartridges for you, because of course Samurai Showdown was actually released in the States as well as in Japan, so of course it will actually translate. Although there are some games that didn't make a US release, they probably will keep the Japanese in it, but some of the games that were released worldwide, or America or in Japan, it will translate it to English. Same goes if you have an American Neo Geo cartridge, it will translate it to Japanese and vice versa. And also it is censored if you have the American version of the Neo Geo AES. If you're playing, for example, like this game Samurai Showdown, you will see the green blood, but if you have the Japanese version of the Neo Geo AES, it'll have the red blood. Although from what I've heard is that there are cheat codes that you can get around it. I'm not really sure. I mean, there are some games that you can actually do that. So, but all in all, region free, no problems. So now let's start the game now, shall we? Press start. Alright. Select the character. I like this one right here. As you can see, the colors are very vibrant. I mean, literally, it's just beautiful. I mean, very revolutionary for its time. I mean, you can't even do this on any other system at the time. And as you can see, like, I slashed that gold statue right there. You can't even do that on the other systems at the time, so. And just playing it on an arcade-like controller just feels just great, just epic, you know? Final verdict, if you just want to play the games but don't want the expensive Neo Geo system, there are a lot of greatest hits compilations that were released throughout the years on various consoles like the PS3, PS2, of course, Xbox Live and all these other platforms. But if you just want to just collect for the hardware, it's definitely a must. As I said before, the Japanese versions are more common than the American versions, so they pretty much do the same as the American, not much of a difference, other than the American version is a little censored for some of the games. But if you just want to collect the games, be sure to pinch out a lot of pennies, because most of the games are very expensive, some ranging from 200 to sometimes $3 for just one game each. And like I mentioned before, some games like Metal Slug can cost around $900 to $800. So if you wanna spend a lot of money on this system, be sure to save a lot, because this thing is, I mean, if you want to collect and have the money, then by all means do so. But like I said before, not all games from the Neo Geo AES library are not all that expensive. For example, Magician Lord is pretty much common on eBay, so you can buy it for like around 60 bucks. So, as well as Spy Hunter, I believe, for the system. So if you just want to play it for the games, I don't really recommend it. Like I said before, there are other ways of getting to play these games anyway. So alright guys, that's about it. Hope you guys enjoyed this awesome review. For you guys, you can comment as well, subscribe to YouTube and my Facebook page. So this is Sentai 22, and thanks for watching.